Hey, how's it going? Welcome to my front room for functional conditioning yoga with me and Romy the naughty dog. There she is, look. Being ridiculous, as always. So, let's have a little check-in. Excuse me. Let's have a check-in about what this class is and how it works and what we're working on. It is an exploration of your mobility and understanding how to get a little bit stronger and a little bit better at stuff, at movements, at skills. And it's not the kind of class that is just follow along, look at me. It's looking inwards and thinking internally about what you're joints are doing, how you are being strong, how you have weak links in your chains of movement, and working that out and then seeing if you can put enough attention on that stuff to make it perform well. Like Romy, who's asleep, look. Oh, come on, get it. Get it. Yes. There we go, she's getting a bit big to hold her own body weight. Yeah, there she is, she's got it. Good girl. That's it. So, let's get into it then and see if we can get reasonably chill. Hear that, Romy? Can you be reasonably chill? No, she cannot. But it starts with hands on your knees, feet just planted right underneath your knees, and push your knees apart a little bit. So you perch right on the edge of your sofa, seeing if you can just relax just enough. And sit up nice and tall. I know, mate, I know. And just breathe, using breathing apparatus. So you make rib cage expand, then draw back in. Rib cage expands and draws back in. And I quite like having distractions. That sounds weird that I like that, but it's like a little test for me that if I can try and get myself into this yoga space, into my way of performing, and at the same time I've just got to hold on to this bit of rope while Romy pulls on me a little bit, and it's kind of fine. That while there's all of this energy happening here, I've got my own energy happening in here, and I can still think about my breathing and just hold on just enough to keep her occupied, but I'm still improving on the way that I can make my breathing stuff go. And that goes the same for my yoga classes in person, that I kind of encourage people, if they're running late, to just sneak in and sort the mat out and just get involved as quickly as they can. And I'm all fine for when yoga teachers kind of lock the door and keep that kind of quiet, kind of sacred. If that's their deal, then that's cool, and that's their voice, and they should use that. I like it the other way, that this little test of our ability to tune into ourselves in the face of adversity is a powerful thing. And you can practice anything. Anything can be practiced and got better at. And I'm pretty good at staying chill, even though there's all of this chaotic energy happening right here, right in front of me. And that's it. I think that's kind of useful, kind of powerful. And then let's just see if we can bring a bit of movement in as you squeeze the side of your rib cage down towards the side of your pelvis. And this might be just a little side bend that you just do side bend for side bend's sake. And it's using the muscles in your obliques down the sides of your belly to do this side bend. But then I want you to think a little bit more specifically about what's actually happening. Can you keep your head right over the top of your pelvis and feel like you can squeeze into side bend and squeeze into side bend, and not let your sit bones change weight? So the sit bones that you're sat on stay the same weight either side of your hip, and your bum cheek stays the same weight on both sides. And it means you've got to kind of pitch your torso just right and feel like you can get this side bend happening no matter what. That's it. Yes. And then cross your arms over your chest and see if you can flip the rib cage up and pull rib cage down and back. And this is cat-cow, essentially. We're going to do cat-cow kneeling as well, but I want you to try and get it upright first and see if you can feel like you can tilt your pelvis on your sofa. And I really like this skill to be able to change your spine while you're kind of upright, because this is how we walk around, and getting these muscles around your torso, and it's all the way around, muscles in your back, muscles in your belly, muscles down the sides of your belly, can do this tilt at any point in your breath, and you don't have to hold your breath. That's it. And then we travel a little bit further up the back, so if you can feel like the muscles in your belly lengthen and then shorten, lengthen and shorten, and using my hands to assess myself is a really useful tool for me. So I can even put my hand on the middle of my back and feel like I can get this movement happening. And then have a little go at that on all fours as well. So bring your hands down. If you have wrists that don't work very well, that don't like being in this all fours position, then you can put your elbows on your sofa or on a chair or on a little stool like this, and then your hands can be out of the game here, and it's the same movement. You try and get your pelvis to tilt and your spine to do action from extension like this. We go into cow pose, to cat pose, cow, to cat, and travelling between the two, and then see if you can move really specifically from vertebra to vertebra. So maybe you start from neck, and then when you get to cat pose, we go from lumbar spine, lower back, to back into neck, and back to neck, upper back to middle back to lower back. That's it. Amazing. Perfect. Alright. And then bringing yourself back up into seated just on the edge of your sofa or on your little footstool, whatever you've got. I'm going to use the footstool so that we can feel and you can see what's going on. I want you to put your hands on your bottom rib and lean back just a bit until you can feel the muscles in your belly catching you. So you see how I'm leaning back and I can feel the muscles in my belly holding me up. I want you to feel like they are a bungee rope as you lift the rib cage up and pull the rib cage down. So you're going into extension like this, and the weight of my head, the weight of my shoulders kind of pulls me back as these muscles lengthen and shorten, lengthen and shorten. Keep this going for a few goes. It is essentially a bit of a sit-up, I think. It's the same kind of shape as doing a sit-up, except it's not a sit-up. You're just trying to get your spine to go into extension and then into flexion, extension, and into flexion. That's it. Okay. And then bring yourself up in standing, because those shapes are going to influence the way that we stretch our hamstrings. So I want you to go with 1 foot forwards, 1 foot back, and lock both knees, just so you can feel what that feels like to lock both knees, and then bend your back knee just a bit. So when you bend that back knee, look how my hips travel backwards a little bit. That's it. And you've got to get those hips to travel back, and then I want you to just hang and just see if you can round your upper back and find when hamstring stretch catches as you reach hands to floor. So with my back rounded like this, I can get my belly button to my thigh and I can lean over this front leg, bend that back knee some more, and hips go back just a bit. If you feel really vulnerable here, have a think about how this is the same as me doing this. It's the same. So you can do a supported version with your bum on the sofa or even on the arm of the chair. Look how this is the same as reaching my bum back and touching it onto the chair and leaning back as I push back, and I just feel like I don't have to balance and I can really focus on lengthening the back of this leg. And this is what this class is about, searching for the shape that you can understand how to make your stuff work really nice. And then pick yourself back up, hold yourself halfway and come up nice and slow, and then see if you can find that journey down into stretch yourself. So slowly, dropping yourself down, bending that back knee, so look how my hips have gone back behind me, and then rounding my upper back and dropping myself down, and then just play and work out what options I have within this. So can I reach hips back further? Can I put weight on the front foot, on the back foot? Can I move my hips side to side a little bit? All of these tiny changes are all really relevant shapes to make. Tiny changes in how I understand this hamstring stretch. That's it. And then pick yourself up, nice and slow, so you don't get a big head rush. And then we just try again, except this time, I want to do the opposite with our spine. So we've just done all of this cat-cow, this ability to change your spine. Can you go into extension from the spine? So put your hand underneath your neck and hand on your belly button and stretch out the front of your jumper, the front of your t-shirt, and then see if you can bend this back knee and keep this shape as you stretch the front of your belly and push hips back, and see how quickly this hamstring stretch bites on. And remember, hips have to travel back, so it might be useful to do the seated version if you want, or you can do the version with your bum hips sitting back to touch and almost sit on the arm of the sofa, and you're trying to look up and forward. So see how my face is facing the camera. I'm just trying to get this stretch down the back of my leg here. And then play. Can you round your back and let that join in? Pick it back up and feel how you can change your spine while in this hamstring stretch. I'm really enjoying this version with my bum back against the sofa, so I could do it at a bit of an angle so you can kind of see sideways on that this hip is way behind both feet really. I can even pick up this bent leg so it's just not even part of the deal, and I can still curl myself down, curl myself up, and feel how my spine is a separate thing to this hamstring. And then pick yourself all the way up. Perfect. And then let's go through that lesson on the other leg. So, other foot forwards, lock both knees out just so you can feel what that feels like, and then bend the back knee and just see how hips travel backwards. That's it. And then just let the back round over so you bring yourself down. Just keep hanging out with rounded back. And pick yourself up halfway. Then drive hips back forwards again. And then think about that journey as you bend the back knee. Can you make your hips go back and then let your back round, and think about how close your belly button is getting towards your thigh. And you might have more flexibility than me, so I can't really get my hands flat, fully flat. I can get one hand flat either side as I do a little hinge over and kind of tilt from side to side, but you might get further. I taught this last night in person, and there's a couple of people getting their nose to their shin, which is fine. It's cool. And they're just learning how to be in that shape and to be reasonably relaxed. That's it. Then pick yourself up a little bit. Pick yourself all the way up. Right. And then we're trying to teach your spine to do the other way, that you can go into extension. So lifting the rib cage, one hand just underneath your neck, one hand on your belly, bend the back knee, push hips back and find that stretch. I can't get my belly button anywhere near that thigh without sharing it into my spine. I'm just trying to work it out. Like I say, I think I really like having my hip just on something. Let's see if I can do it a bit closer to the camera. You can't see my feet, but I can get this bum to just perch on the sofa here, and that hamstring stretch stays, and I can feel like I can use these muscles in my back to come into extension, into flexion, extension, and into flexion. That's it. Nice. And pick it back up. And let's have a little play around with more spine stuff again. So if you perch yourself on the edge of your sofa, I'll do it this way so you can see, and I'm going to go wide feet like this and just point my toes up. So see how my toes are pointing up the ways. I've got heels down. I want you to see if you can hinge forwards until you feel hamstring stretch without sharing your spine. It's just a couple of times, and you might not get very far. It might be just a little lean, and then you feel that little stretch. Being on this is really good for me because I can feel it's like right on the attachment of my hamstring. I can feel them pull tight against this. And then I want you to round your back down and see if you can drop and just hang out and stretch here. In hamstring stretch. And see if you can be relaxed against adversity, whether you've got a cat trying to paw at you, a crazy dog trying to fight with a piece of rope, kids asking you questions and stuff. You should be able to stay reasonably chill and just hang out here. And you might not be able to get hands to the floor depending on what you've got your bum perched on. It doesn't really matter what height it's at, you just work it out and try and keep yourself kind of safe. But if you can, maybe you could drop a couple of books or some cushions onto the floor so you've got something to put your hands on that's a little bit higher. I don't recommend a dog, they move around too much and they might not want you putting your weight on top of them, like that. And then just see if you can drive your heels down and make tension in your hamstrings in the end range. So we start learning about neuromuscularly how to connect to these muscles down the back of your leg. As you push heel down, you can ramp up that tension. Nice. And then use your hamstrings to pick you back up. See if you can get that lever from pushing your heels down upright to lengthening hamstrings under tension and then picking yourself back up. And then lengthen hamstrings under tension and pick yourself back up. And you can start getting those hamstrings to perform at their lengthened state. And this is what I'm all in on. I love yoga. I love teaching yoga. I love helping people improve their understanding of flexibility. And for me, if there isn't some connection, some brain to muscle connection there, we're missing a part of the puzzle. But if you only hang out in a passive stretch and just get really good at just turning those muscles off, that's what you get good at. You get good at turning muscles off, and sometimes they need to perform. And this ability to hinge on those hamstring muscles, I think, is super useful. Nice. And pick yourself back up, and let's have a little look at that the other way. So if we think about the muscles in our belly being a massive part of this, because everything we've just been doing is kind of looking at how your lumbar spine can extend and flex, extend and flex. We need to understand how to articulate it to then learn how to make it really stable and understand how this influences the tissues on the back of our legs, in our hamstrings, in our hip flexors. So if we look at doing a couch stretch, which is handy because we're actually doing it on this couch. I normally teach this in the gym, so it's not actually couch stretch. I'm just going to jam this up against here. Romy, come on. You're wild. Stop fighting the cushion. Come on. Drop it. Put your foot up onto the sofa. So imagine like this is the sofa, it's just so you can see sideways. And then drop your knee down onto here. And you're in half kneeling with your foot pitched up onto something with a cushion under your knee. We're looking for the stretch in your thigh here. And it should be in a place that you can explore extension to flexion. So lumbar spine can tilt. You can do lower back into extension, to flexion, extension and into flexion. Romy. And you're just tilting lower back, lumbar spine, doing tilts. And then just see if you can keep it and live in this thigh stretch. And just hang out and play fetch with the dog while you do it. I don't know how you feel about sharing your yoga time with a dog, but I love training myself for this distraction. That I'm in this thing and I'm thinking internally, and I'm just kind of mindlessly seeing if the dog wants to pull on this or wants to chase it. She wants to do a bit of both, but she's not letting it go now. I'll let her play for a bit. And in the meantime, I'm still in this stretch on my thigh muscle, getting longer, and I'm tucking tailbone under and trying to understand this the best I can. And then we get into pails and rails, so I start pushing my foot into the sofa. So I'm trying to push and trying to almost straighten my leg out, and I can't straighten it because the sofa's in the way, and it feels like tension here, and this bum muscle is tensing, and I'm getting strong in this shape. And then we drop ourselves down and see if you can lift your heel off of the thing and not get cramp, and keep pulling heel towards your bum. Keep holding, keep holding. Keep going. 3, 2, 1, and then just drop. And then we try the other side. Romy. So knee on the cushion and get into a place that you can do lumbar tilts. Go into extension, into flexion, extension, into flexion. And just keep playing with this shape. You can understand how when you come into extension, so if I stick my bum out like this, I lose the stretch completely. I can even sit right back, get my heel pressed into my bum cheek. I'm bendy enough that that doesn't do anything for here. If I tuck tailbone under, however, really different. I get a big thigh stretch here. Okay. And then just hang out. See if you can just hang out. And be relaxed against adversity, which is kind of the practice. And just keep hanging out. And then after leading up to about 2 minutes of that, you can start pushing your foot down and try and work out how to make tension in the muscle that's being stretched. So neuromuscularly, you have connection to this. I quite like doing this against the footstool and having my hand on the sofa. It's just that extra bit of stability that means that I can play more with the shape and explore how it feels to change things just slightly. Keep pushing now. Keep ramping up tension. And then bring hands down to the floor and bring heel to bum. And see if you can squeeze that hamstring closed. Keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling. And coming up and out of that. And hopefully you finish that strong so that when you stand up, you feel kind of bouncy and feel like you can be in an athletic shape and do a little strong walk or even a little run or whatever your choice of exercise is, you can do more stuff. Okay, and then let's get into hip stretch. So again, I'm going to use this just so you can see me sideways on. Romy, see the toy. You put your foot on, drop your knee down and bring your hip on. So for you, if you don't have something like this to rely on, you do this on the sofa or on your bed, and then you lean forwards over until you feel stretched down the outside of whichever leg you've got forwards in front of you, dropping down and hanging out. That's it. Relax your jaw. Keep dropping yourself down. You're trying to just pitch yourself forwards enough that you can feel the outside of this bum cheek, and remember, this is a lesson in relaxation for that muscle, so you shouldn't be fighting against it. It shouldn't feel like the end of the world. It should feel just kind of reasonably good. And just keep hanging out. and then make a bit of tension by pushing your shin down and ramp up that tension, pushing your shin into the floor or into the sofa or chair or whatever you've got, and keep driving this down. Keep pushing, and then lifting up. Oh, I'm going to sit myself up a little bit, and then try and lift that knee up to your armpit. So you're getting as close to the shape that you were doing, as close as you possibly can, and then lean forwards again. And show yourself that as you sit up, you can own that shape and keep lifting your knee up to your armpit, and then just soften. Let's try that on the other side. So, so the shin comes down, sitting into it like that. So you should be able to have that back leg goes wherever it's comfortable. It doesn't have to be there. It can even be in running stance like that. If you feel like that's good for you, you could set it with toes tucked underneath and kind of pitching you forwards, and actually that feels really good for me today. That's a good shape for me. Sometimes I'll do this and I'll just hang this back leg and it can just go wherever and just let it turn off, and I'm just thinking about this stuff here around the outside of the bum cheek. Be as relaxed as you can with a Jack Russell trying to win at a fight. Come on. Good girl. That's it. And it's just spending long enough in this shape to influence your body to be more passive, to be able to relax, to be able to soften down and just be quite happy with these muscles lengthened. And then start driving your shin down so you ramp up tension as you hinge forwards. You keep pushing, keep pushing. Sit yourself up and then try and lift knee up to your armpit. Keep lifting, keep lifting. And then drop yourself back into passive stretch, and then lift yourself back up. So you also get better at finding this end range. And drop again. Fantastic. Then do a little check-in with yourself. Stood up. See how that feels after you've been in that end range position. Just check in with your hips. So if you turn that knee out, turn it in, turn it out, turn it in, and realise that you've just been in external rotation on that hip. And how does it feel to be in external rotation? Bring it back across, and how does that journey into external rotation feel? And it changes depending on where your thigh bone is. So you can hang that foot and do this pendulum swing. I think it's just off camera, but the dog's trying to fight my foot. That's it. Like shoving a nose up against it, which is kind of a nice bit of resistance. That's it. Stop that. And then try that on the other side. Ow! Romy, get down. Then try external rotation. So with straight leg, external rotation to internal, external to internal. And then try that pendulum swing again. Stop it. And try and feel like you can get that turn into the external rotation and understand it. Okay, then bring yourself back, seated, and back to how we started in getting that pelvic tilt, find extension to flexion. And then do the little side bend again. And then bring palms together, thumbs to forehead, tuck your chin and roll forwards. Namaste. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and crazy Romy, who's absolutely wild now. She's got herself very excited because I've been playing with her for that whole half hour. Let me know what you're working with. Let me know what you need. We'll work it out. I'll keep trying my best to help you. It means so much when you message me and let me know what's going on. And it helps me massively to work out what to work on and how to best serve you with the best yoga and best mobility that we can do. All right, enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you all very soon. Bye, everyone. Bye. Say bye, Romy. Say bye. Good girl. Nah, she's not a good girl. Naughty.